Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Karen. It is November. Is it November 4th? Yes, it's November 4th. Okay, so today's episode, a little choppy, but I think you'll like it. Sometimes I try and stay all on one topic, and I think you guys, a lot of stuff, you think you're all ADHD like me. I think we can jump around. So today's episode is 3 separate things. First, I'm going to talk about Loab or Loab, which is a very interesting thing that's happening on the internet. That's sort of slash paranormal, is it? And then part 2 is some of you guys were worried about me because maybe I wasn't as cheerful on some of the podcasts. So I just took a little segment. I hope it's not too complaining. I really meant it in a positive way. And it's just sort of explaining the transition that happened. And if I seemed a little dark or depressed for a while, it was sort of first after the move. But I will explain that in the second half. And then the third part, because I don't want you guys to worry about me. And I want you to know that cheerful Karen is coming back. Upbeat Karen is coming back. But you know I never lost my curiosity. If dark Karen comes in, the podcasts get darker and maybe more interesting. But also the third part is an episode I did from my Patreon that when I had COVID, but everybody seemed to like it. So I'm going to give you a preview of the Patreon. Maybe you'll want to join, maybe you won't, but that'll be in the third part. So we're having ADHD Paranormal Karen today. So, and it is November. Do I have any dates coming up? I don't know. Comedy dates. Join my email list. If you go to karenrontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com, I get an email list. I'm terrible about sending out emails, so you'll get it every third month or something. But if you're interested in comedy dates, there they are. I'm guessing I had a great time in Zanies and all that stuff. So, thank you to Jason Zangron, a friend of mine. And Jason, I hope I'm saying that correctly because I always pronounce everything wrong. Jason is a local comic here. Find him. I should put his name in the show notes. So funny. So funny. And he's a local guy here in Utica. Probably not local or probably not unknown for long. He's so talented. And he listens to the podcast and he was told me about Loab. Some people call it Loab or Loab. I feel like Loab is for very fancy people calling it Loab. I'm going to call it Loab. Like I don't know how to, you know how I don't know how to pronounce words. So they're kind of calling this the internet's newest urban legend. But I will tell you, I'll give you my assessment at the end. It's a very, very interesting story. So there was a musician on Twitter, and her handle is super composite or super, it's SUPERCOMPOSITE. Guess if I can't pronounce composite, I probably can't pronounce Loab or Loab, which is 4 words, LOAB. So, this is the person that produced it. And what it is, have you seen those things on TikTok or where they go, AI, show us what the end of the world looks like, or AI, show us what, the gods look like. Now I have a theory about this because that's when they just throw it into the computer and the computer has an art form that throws out a picture or a video, and they're always kind of dark and they're always interesting. But I have to say, so one of the things that I think AI is a guy. I'll just say that. Because when they say, throw out what the Greek gods would like, the men are always like these horrifying half animal, half man, evil face or weirdness. But whenever it's a girl, oh, she's so in shape. So the female gods are always in shape. I don't know if that's a collective of what was drawn on the internet, because AI is sort of a conscious collectiveness. But I'm like, okay, AI is a guy. Definitely the women are always like, half beautiful, half awful, nice figures, that's probably. But if AI is our consciousness, and that's the images that we take in, that's what it's doing. So, I'm going to also tell you kind of, I've told this story before about AI, this is sort of the part where we get, is AI a consciousness? Are we consciousness? Are we AI? And this is a good one, are archangels AI? So if you think about it, I don't know that that's that far off. There's a guy on the internet that talks to the World Forum who is terrifying, who is talking about putting AI in our brains or putting a computer chip in our brains. So if a computer chip is just a program, then maybe we are AI. Like maybe therapy, sorry, I'm unplugging my heater because it was 40 degrees in September. And then my heater, I don't know why I turned my heater at 80 because I want to feel like I'm on Southwest. Southwest, you have two temperatures. You have 32 and you have 92. And that's all the plane can do. So I want my house to be like an airplane with only two temperatures. I kind of am on that theory. Are we AI? We may actually be, if you figure out the program, if you figure out the matrix, if that's literally what we're programming our mind, right? With positive or creating our own reality. Now, I'm going to refer back to the story about Facebook when Facebook had two computers talk to each other. And they took these two computers to see what they would do if they could communicate. And like in a matter of minutes, not only were the computers communicating, but they had formed their own language that made humans or Facebook didn't know what they were talking about. So that's a little creepy. Not only did they communicate, again, form their own language, blocked out the humans, and apparently they unplugged those two computers very quickly. So can we create consciousness or are we? That's what happened here. So here's what also this, look, I'm going to get to it. I wrote down, well, I'm going to put this in now. I've talked about tulpas. So tulpa is when you put enough energy and thought into something that it's created. So I feel like that about the Jersey Devil. Jersey Devil is this really weird story. It doesn't really fit. It's not like a Bigfoot or a cryptid that they sort of appeared like they came to us. But like the Jersey Devil is the story about a woman that married a guy that she didn't want to marry years ago. And she had 12 kids. And she said, if I have a 13th kid, it's going to be the devil, blah, blah, blah. She has the kid. It's like a small, hairy thing. It's not so then what happens is, this story gets created and then people become afraid. And then one person thinks they saw it and then everybody else is watching for it. And all that energy literally creates the thing. And I wonder, that's what I always felt like Slender Man was. Slender Man is sort of a shadow figure that someone started an urban legend and then enough energy went into it that suddenly people are seeing a Slender Man. And there was even the Slender Man murders where the kids said something like Slender Man told them to murder this other girl. It was a high school girl, I believe. And also what I think happens is when we create this tulpa, this leaves room for a negative energy to go, you want Slender Man? I'll show you Slender Man. And then you have a thing or an entity or something that was conjured that is talking to kids, telling them to kill another kid. So there's a lot of options of the way this could go. So I wrote, my little brain, what does that mean? Are we angels AI? Okay, I'm looking at my notes. Sorry, folks. I should tape these right after I do my notes because I'm like, they're fresh and I know what I said. My little brain, this is what I wrote, processes this as AI. It's just the speed. So as I get into what Loab is, I think the consciousness of the internet or AI is actually just moving faster than our brains do. So if you put AI into a chess program, for example, it's hard for a human to beat it because AI can go through all the options and sort of do the 3 steps forward that a chess player would need faster than a person. So it can load the conclusion faster. It's just working at a faster rate and it's working without emotion. So, it's almost like AI is a sociopath. And I don't know how we program in emotion. That is the difference between us and them. That's where our programs work, from our subconscious and our emotion. So in April 2022, this musician, this super composite, or whatever I said her name was, yes, super composite, was working with AI. First of all, I would love to have one of these programs, but I don't know. I'm sure they're expensive. There's a wait list for the next AI program where you just put in the prompts. So in April of 2022, someone put a prompt into AI. And what they started doing is they went with a negative prompt. So what this means is, if I was to say, it's the opposite. They're going to put in the opposite of the prompt. So, they ask for the negative. So if I was to say, AI, can you put up a prompt of karenrontowski? It would be saying, can you put up the negative, or what is not karenrontowski? Which is a very interesting and sort of backwards way of thinking. What is not karenrontowski? I guess it's Kim Kardashian. That's not me. This is where they find this image of this woman called Loab. It's a very distorted, there's image after image after image, and it's a very distorted image of the same woman. And this is what's interesting. It is clearly the same woman. And that's where it gets fascinating. No matter how distorted the image is, you can recognize her in this image. Now, there is something called matrixing that your brain does. And I see this a lot on pictures when people send haunted pictures, where you don't really see it until the person goes, don't you see that face in there? Your brain is always looking to make sense of something. It doesn't like chaos. So once someone says, do you see the face? Do you see the demon? Do you see the thing in this picture? Your brain matrixes to put that together. So, but it's very interesting. It is pretty clear that no matter how distorted it is this same image. So, with the negative prompt, instead of creating an image or a text prompt, AI tries to make the response look as different as possible. So what this musician put in is she put in the opposite of Brando 1. AI create the opposite of Brando 1. Not sure why she picked that. So she put that in, and what she got was a logo, an AI logo that didn't really make sense. You can look this up if you want. It's DIGITA PNTICS. So this logo comes up with that written on it. Like that was the opposite or the negative of Brando. So then she wanted to see what was the opposite of the opposite, thinking that if she put in that logo and said, what's the opposite of that, she would get Marlon Brando. But she didn't. She got 4 pictures of this woman. It's an older woman. The face looks distressed or sad. And once you make this face look happy, it looks disturbing, which is a couple of things about that. If a AI can't create emotion, it can only create disturbing images. Because if you have seen someone who is vacant from their body, or some of you have probably seen someone who is really a sociopath, and you feel that emptiness, you cannot create that saying, the eyes are the window to the soul, is beyond true. So you know when something's wrong with someone by their eyes. You look back at pictures of Ted Bundy now, there is clearly something wrong when you look into his eyes. So that creates this older woman. It's always disturbing. Weird side note, just something I heard from someone on Art Bell years and years ago is he said, given enough energy, a demon can create a human body, but he said, or they can, I forget how he said it, sort of materialize, but he said they can never get the teeth right. Like that they get a distorted, they're too small or they're too big or they're too sharp. You can always tell with the eyes and the teeth. Just a weird side note of something that stayed in my brain forever. So this super composite friend then they asked another AI, which was really weird. It was a hyper compressed, again, they're putting these prompts into the AI to try and create chaotic prompts or see what it comes up with. And they put in compressed glass tunnel surrounded by angels. And this weird image came up with this Loab in it. So she starts popping up in other images. And it seemed troubling that she started popping up in other places. You can put this in Loab. Know that you'll get that singer. There was a singer. So you want to put in Loab and AI. And it started being connected to a lot of yucky images that just kept coming up with negative prompts. She kept showing up, and some of these images got really gross and really disturbing. If you're a paranormal person, probably not, you won't be as disturbed as other people, but she started showing up in these really gross images where children were dead, where some were bleeding. So it started crossing over into other things. So no matter how many times this image, then they started crossbreeding this image with other things. And at that point, it really got weird. But no matter how many times they crossbred images, put this image with AI, she kept showing up. So she wanted to mix her with images that would really distort. So it just kept kind of getting worse and worse. It was amazing. This is actually amazing. And I think I might have a theory, but I'm not sure. No matter how many times you crossbreed Loab with another image, it always looks like her. So if you're putting in karenrontowski and you're crossbreeding me, you will always recognize me. That was the part that was the strangest to me. Like, you should eventually crossbreed her out so that she looks like someone else. But that wasn't happening. So I want, that's sort of the gist of the story right there, I think. Do I have more? Yes. But I do want to say this is very interesting for a couple of reasons. It's like I said, it's not like a cryptid we can go through time and see. It looks like people have seen Bigfoot for times. But I want to refer back to something because they're kind of like, is this a demon that was created through the internet? Which I think that word is too heavy. I feel like there's a logical explanation and a paranormal explanation. So I'm going to go with the logical one first. So if this Loab was created and put into the internet's consciousness as a thing. First of all, that musician that's creating it, we all know our computers are listening to us all the time. Our phones are listening to us all the time. So if she has used that word or used this creation over and over, then it's sort of in her AI's consciousness. So in other words, if it's like when I say, I'm looking for a winter coat, and all of a sudden every one of my iPads is showing me sales on winter coats, she has created, whether energetically or AI, she has created, I'm interested in this woman, keep showing it to me. That's the first part. Now, the second part is, if you saw The Conjuring, there was a scene where, the woman, we all know her name, and I can't remember it because I still have brain fog. The famous woman, the lead investigator, I can see her with her big hair, makes a phone call to her daughter at home. And whatever was in the home where she was investigating, the conjured thing, went through the phone to her daughter. I have had things go through the phone. To where, that's why you be very careful. It was a very interesting story. I was at a place, I had done the whole investigation wrong. This was the one where Tommy was like, you always send out the questionnaire. You always find out firsthand and check. His wife was on the phone to me. Whatever I was investigating went through to his house, and he got home and he was like, what's going on here? And then he asked his wife, and he was like, you were on the phone with her while she was doing the investigation. So I know that can happen. Things can go through the phone. They can go through the internet. So clear your space of Loab now, which you should all be clearing your space anyways. So that I know is a real thing. Could be something be haunting her. Could a tulpa have taken over this image? It absolutely could be. Could this be a hoax? Of course it could be a hoax. It's very hard to tell what isn't a hoax. But I feel like she may have, it would be interesting to see if this image is popping up other places where people don't know what it is or haven't had that fed into their sort of, I'm going to call it internet consciousness. I'm going to name it that. Also, there's a very weird thing. This is a very distressed, middle-aged woman. The internet right now is sort of anti-middle-aged woman. There's insults about, men only want to sleep with young women. There's this whole Karen video thing going on where it's all negative towards middle-aged women. So if that is in AI's consciousness and it wants to create something disturbing that it thinks we don't like, that's something else I think that fits in with why she is looks this way. This is also very interesting. This internet account on Twitter, Super Composite, only has 12,000 followers. So I don't know if we're at the beginning of what this is or what, but I found it interesting that she isn't bombarded with thousands of people looking at that. Maybe this is kind of keeping this pure, but take a look. You can look up the images. You're a Paranormal Karen listener, so you're not going to be totally freaked out. And if you look at her on Twitter, the ones that are really deserving are blocked out or fuzzy. You have to sort of click to see them. But a very interesting, thank you to my friend Jason for bringing this to me, because there's a lot of moving parts here. I'm going to be very interested to see where this goes. And it would be interesting to see if this shows up in places where people didn't know and then they put it together. So, thank you, Jason. This is the internet, the AI, and the next step in the paranormal. So we'll be right back, folks. I'm going to tell you about what was going on with me. Some of you were worried about me. Don't be worried. Hang on, we'll be right back.
Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Understandings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.
Welcome back. Okay, so this is going to be a weird segment, especially weird for me. You guys know the episode I did on courage. That was like a real, as much as I am probably the most self-centered person you will meet, it's kind of hard for me to talk about myself. And a sort of a theme kept coming up that I didn't realize either I haven't addressed or I haven't addressed it all at once. So if this segment is me complaining, I totally apologize. But when I tape my episodes, I tape them probably 2 to 3 months ahead. And I think at one point I was 3 months ahead. So there was an airing of things that were right after I moved here that, people were like, are you okay? Like even one of my friends I worked with, a comedy friend I worked with, I was going to have him on and he was going to interview me. I was going to say, why don't you ask that question? And so know that what you're hearing is always behind, but people did start to say, are you all right? And I thought maybe I never fully addressed this move that I made on this podcast. So I'm going to do that for a minute and then I'm going to let you all know I think I'm over the hump on this or over the hill or have settled into what this is. So you guys know I talk a little bit about Utica. I had to move from LA to Utica, and course change is always hard, but it was very strange. I'm almost in the 8 of Cups of Tarot card, because I will tell you, I had the life in Los Angeles. Okay. I was planning on moving out and moving to Nashville for something different, but this move to Utica, New York was not in the plan at all. And I was I'm a city girl, and I am a comedian first above all other things I do. And in Los Angeles, I had comedy. I was going out and doing sets whenever I wanted to. I had friends everywhere I went. I had so many friends in LA, and there's sort of this thing that I don't know if people that aren't comics can't understand, but when comics are very different people, and we can strike up a conversation with another comic and be immediately connected, talking about the same things. That is, I have 2 communities. I have my paranormal community and I have my comedy community. And I had a strong comedy community. So I moved here to Utica. And what I think people don't know is when you talk about change, everything changed. Courage passed away. I'm dealing with, my car isn't right because of weather. I don't even have the same food. I used to eat everything at Trader Joe's. I am an hour away from any Trader Joe's. My food had to change. Every habit had to change. My workout had to change. I love hot yoga. I am in a phenomenal gym now, but I'm not doing what I was used to. Comedy changed. There are like 3 to 4 open mics here. And I want to make this very clear. I love the comics that I know here in Utica, but it was kind of like I went from sitting in a green room discussing how a joke worked with Jay Leno to working in bars that are not made for comedy, where people just have their back to me, or they're really drunk, or they're waiting for their drug dealer. So if it felt like some people like, are you okay? There is nothing that is the same. I go on Tinder or a dating app, and after 5 minutes, it says there's no more matches in your area. Like, the table was turned over, and there is nothing I can do because I'm here for my family. There is no, I have some friends that are like, just move away. And it's like, no, there is no way. First of all, I'd leave my sister with this responsibility. But second of all, my parents are deteriorating very quickly, and we're really in a place of making very strange decisions. Some of you may know this. Again, I apologize that this is just complaining, and I don't mean it to be a downer, but I want you to all know where sort of those podcasts where you're like, are you all right? We're coming from. So I recently went back on the road for a couple weeks. I went to Alameda, California, and I went to Vegas. And that's another thing. I don't know how much road work I can do because I'm nowhere near an airport. And I'm trying not to book it too much for the winter because I'm going to be snowed in. When I first got here and first moved here, I went to go to a gig and they were like, nope, no planes. And I lost $2,000 on that gig. Well, here's the thing. I went out back on the road and I felt like me again. It all came together. I worked with this great guy. His name was Omid Singh, immediate friend. Shows are great. I'm me again. Okay. So I really needed to know that that was still there, because you don't just, comedy is a thing. It's a muscle. And if you don't work it, it gets flabby. And so I just want you guys to know, like, I kind of feel like a me again, or I know that I'm still here. And the only reason I'm telling you all this is because the people that were worried about me, I just want you to know it was probably the most depressing transition I've ever made, because it wasn't like going from a bad place or I'm really done here. I had everything, and I know I will have it again. It's just one of those changes. I don't know what's going on, if I'll be here for a year or what's next. Right now, the plan is to go to Nashville after. But right now we're kind of dealing with my parents. So don't feel sorry for me. I feel like I'm over the hump. There is something very heavy and dark about Utica. As long as I can keep my eye on the ball, like I'm trying to write more jokes or I'm trying to do this, I'll be okay. Winter is coming, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a person that needs to be outside all the time. So we'll see. I will try and get, I guess it's cheerful Karen back. I will do the absolute best that I can. But I thought about it, and I thought maybe I didn't tell everyone like how intense this transition is. Now, the good news, the great news, is that I am with my family, and we were never really a close family. Me and my sister were laughing. It's like, we're at my parents' old age home every day. And it's like, I go to my sister, I go, were we this close? And she was like, no. And everyone at the old age home, they have kids that don't talk to them. They have kids that don't visit. You know what? Even if you hate your parents, please make the effort. So my family, we sort of have this second thing to get together. The other good news is I think I got it now. I think I got my rhythm here, and where I have to keep my eye on the ball and what I have to do. And again, the local comics here are fabulous, great people. So I'm building friendships with them. We're doing stuff. So it's getting better. It was also weird because my best friend kind of abandoned me. And I know that people don't know what I've always been my friend always joked about that if she could have 10% of the happiness that I have in my life or that I see or that I feel, her life would be so much better. So I'm working on getting that back. So if you're hearing me or you think something's wrong or you're like, hey, is there a dark spirit around you? Don't worry about that. It was just a dark time. It was a dark transition. I'm going to do my best. You're going to hear a lot of jokes about being locked in the snow. But we'll see. Okay. So I just didn't want you guys to worry that anything was wrong with me. It isn't. And I have plenty of healers around helping me out with everything. I do feel like on a good turn, my very haunted house sort of decided it likes me. So everything is getting better. I'm going to work on my next special. I'm working on my jokes. I have found a rhythm, and the gym I go to is probably the best, most educated person about fitness I have ever met in my life. And she has become a friend. So I do apologize again if this is a lot of complaining, and now I have like some weird cold and I got COVID. So the whole thing kind of, like I said, I think I'm either over or have accepted the hard part. So that's it. That's it. I'm going to stop complaining. I literally just complained to you for 9 minutes, or I hope that I explained to you why this was so hard. And I have a whole new set of worries, probably with my parents, or even like, is my car winter ready? So, but I'm on the other side of it, all accepting. And, yeah, that's it. I just didn't want you guys to worry about me. I got a ton of great guests coming up. The Patreon is going great. In fact, I am going to have the last part of this podcast be, one of the episodes from my Patreon, and I'm going to give it a big intro because, so I'm having a blast on the Patreon. If you join for $5, you get 2 more Paranormal Karen episodes. One is called, In Bed with Karen, which is because I tape these from inside my bedroom because I'm not crazy about where I live. I had to move to a furnished place because I'm not buying stuff. So when I get out of here, I'm getting out of here how I came, with just my car full of clothes or, singing bowls or whatever. That was a weird transition to look at your house and get rid of everything but what fits in your car. And that was even kind of great because my sister was like, how much room is in this car? I have a little Versa. I still have stuff shoved under the seats. I got pulled over by a cop. There's weird stuff in the glove compartment I can't explain. It was like whatever I wanted to bring with me. It's only fitting in the car. Everything else is going in the trash. Holy cow. And so I moved into this furnished apartment, which furnished stuff is kind of weird. It's got everyone else's energy on it. Maybe I finally got my energy on it. I did things like I got slip covers, so I'm not sitting on a couch that just thinking, who had sex on this? Like, that was my thinking. But I will say I love the bedroom. So I sit here at night under my quilt that I brought with me. And that's where I usually tape the episode. So the episode I'm going to play for you guys is, I think it was the one everyone there liked best, which was really interesting. So you get when you join the Patreon, you get In Bed with Karen, which is literally what I'm reading and what I'm talking about, usually about 30 minutes long. And then you also get the What's Going On in Utica, where I'm just investigating Utica, and it's so interesting. So I think the episode I'm posting seemed like a favorite for everybody's. It was very scattered, but what a surprise. That's who I am, right? And it was right after COVID. So if there's a lot of like what I'm doing now, like spaces and just know I still sort of have the brain fog, but I'm working out of it. So please enjoy that episode. I hope this gave you guys a little clarity. Again, not looking for people to feel bad for me. I know how hard 2022 is. This was a change I had to make. I know when I leave, or in my life, I will always understand that this time with my family was maybe one of the best decisions. My therapist is like, she tells me, don't worry, it's not you. She says, I can hear this. The problem is Utica. And I won't lie, there is an energy here that you have to fight all the time. A depression or a darkness. It's like when I lived in LA, my walls were beige and I was like, let's paint them white because my apartment was so bright. I want to be squinting in my apartment. There was an awful lot of gray and this apartment is very dark. So I'm bringing in lamps and lights and all the things I need. But just know that this was a heavy transition. I am regrouping. I will find the bright side. There is no way out, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I will stay for my parents and my sister. You know, we have a deal with them until they pass away or until they're in a nursing home and they can't recognize me. And then I will move on. And so hopefully that gave you some insight if things felt like I was not myself. But you guys know 2022 is a bear of a year and change is coming. And also, I have this theory that I hope I haven't lost you. Like I said, I'm very self-conscious talking about myself, and I was self-conscious on the courage episode too. My theory right now, I am taping this at the end of September. My theory is that humanity has not decided what timeline it's on. I don't know that people are waking up, and I think they're deciding, are we going to implode this sort of negative agenda, or are we going to fold and go along with it? And I feel like that's why we can't quite get anything started. I can't quite get anything started. I go down this route. I go, I'm going to work on my fairy special. I'm talking to Tom. We're planning it. And then it gets derailed. Or I'm going to just work on these type of jokes, and then it gets derailed. Things keep getting derailed, and I think that is humanity trying to decide what timeline it's on, which in turn makes us try to decide what timeline we're on. So right now, it's just about staying in your seat in the roller coaster and just letting things roll out. But I felt very bad if there's any negative energy coming from the podcast. I didn't mean that. I was just in transition. And like I said, everything flipped over for me. I own 400 halter tops and 4 turtlenecks. And it's like, I don't even have clothes. I'm like, how warm can gloves get? So, I am going to turn that more into jokes on the podcast, but I do appreciate those of you that were like, are you okay? Is there a spirit around you? I got my buddy Amy. I got my other buddies keeping watch over me. My buddy Elaine, everybody is watching out for me. So I'm changing. Maybe this will help some of you. I'm changing with mantras, Post-its, right next to my bed when I get up, words to just change and shift this. And if not, maybe I will write the scariest movie that takes place in Utica. How about that? So just know more about me. I so appreciate those of you that are going through changes would understand, or everybody that's gone through changes would understand. My whole world got flipped, but thank God for, I want to say Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, because it made me see who I am again, and that the things I love will be on the other side, even though they're not as tangible right now. And so anyways, that's it. Enjoy this view this into the Patreon. I hope you will enjoy it as much as the Patreon folks did. And maybe we'll see you on the Patreon. If not, we'll see you next week. And I'm going to say my goodbye right now. And thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media and to all you listeners that have stuck with me through the hard times. Thank God my guests are brilliant to carry me through this time. All right, everybody, enjoy this episode.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and Prithvika is my collection of consciously created crystal and nature-forged jewelry. Prithvika translates to of the earth in Hindi, which represents the natural earth-made materials I'm working with, along with my personal ancestry and grounded energy. Each piece is created through ceremony and science and completed with being Reiki charged. I'm currently featuring copper mirror necklaces, which can be used for protection and mirror magic. My intention is for your new piece of jewelry to feel like an extension of self, to help bring your desires to fruition and to amplify the magic within you. My Instagram is @Prithvika, and my website is prithvika.com. That's PRTHVEEKA.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to What's Going On in Utica. My episode number 3. Again, as always, weird things are happening. So I want you to know what I'm trying to research here. What I'm trying to get started on this is I'm trying to go all the way back. I'm trying to figure out how I investigate, the land where houses were built on, number 1, with all these haunted houses that I keep talking to people about. Number 2, I want to find out the Native American history of the land, not the white people history, and also the, more about the Underground Railroad, but not just typical history. Some typical history will be in there, but I'm kind of looking to see if there's something different I can bring to it that has the paranormal slant I would like. Some of you know the Skinwalker Ranch, where a skinwalker is actually like a Native American type demonic presence or something that is unleashed by Native Americans. Some Native Americans won't even say the word skinwalker. And I'm thinking something went on in upstate New York. So that's what I'm trying to look into. But it's taking me forever. But until then, there's plenty of stuff to keep you occupied. So moving to the lighter topic of satanic worship, a couple of things that are really interesting. I found this article and it was from the Daily Mail and it came out. I got 2 different dates on this. I got September of 2020. Okay. So maybe this is old. And then I saw it also somewhere else. And it was as though it happened today. Okay, so anyways, this is from the Daily Mail in the UK. And it kind of made me laugh, but it's kind of weird. Usually I read a bunch of articles and then I sort of put everything together in paragraphs how I want to present it. But I'm just going to read this article because it's great. Kind of. Petrified Elizabeth Warren campaign surrogate flees upstate New York Airbnb claiming it was being used for satanic ritual. Both the host and the Church of Satan say it's full of just kitschy art. And I think I'm saying kitschy right. Thank God the Church of Satan weighed in on this. That's whose opinion really matters, isn't it? An Elizabeth Warren campaign surrogate fled his upstate New York Airbnb in fear over this weekend, claiming it was full of satanic ornaments and being used for devil worship, but has since been told by the host and the Church of Satan that he has an overactive imagination. Frederick Joseph, formerly of the National Surrogate for Warren and Bernie Sanders, rented the house for himself, his fiancée, his 8-year-old brother, and his cousin for 2 nights for $1,150. Seems heavy. For 4 people? Maybe, I don't know. Upstate New York? Yeah, too much. When they arrived, he said they found a bunch of imagery, candles, books, etc. for rituals that what looked like devil worship. He claimed they were so frightening they left and fumed at the Airbnb for not giving them a refund. Now, this is from Frederick Joseph's Twitter feed. We just drove 3 hours, my 8-year-old brother, for a getaway, and the house we arrived at ended up having some seemingly satanic items for witchcraft rituals. And we had to leave because my brother and the rest of us were frightened. But Airbnb won't refund me. Then the next thread was still him. We were told that we couldn't receive a refund, and they spoke to the owner, who said there was just a few small art pieces that could come remove. This was a lie. This was the whole damn house and not a few things. A Baphomet hidden behind a dead bird in a bag. That's in capitals. Baphomet is when you look on the devil card in the tarot. That's the Baphomet. It's the devil with the horns and the fingers up. Okay, you've seen it. If you look it up, you'll know you've seen it. All of that to say that it isn't how guests should be treated. I use Airbnb frequently, and there are many reasons in this situation which should be warranted a refund, especially our safety and mental emotional health. He's not wrong. They're putting up the pictures. This guy put up the pictures of what's out there. They first put it out as there's an outdoor bathtub. It looks like a Viagra commercial out on the patio. But then you get in and it's pretty dark. This is satanic worship stuff. And there's a little toy machine, which is actually a dog having sex with a naked woman wearing red boots. I don't know, red boots. Maybe that's a thing. And you turn it on and it's a little machine. And it's pretty, that should never be there. And then, yes, there is a bird bag with a dead bird in it. Not a small bird. Sex mutant stuff. I think some Nazi stuff. In another language. All pretty bad. Okay. Then they show the real pictures that were listed. It's a nice house without the satanic stuff. We had to leave because my brother and the rest of us were frightened. When we walked up to the house, we noticed an animal skull hanging on the outside of the house. So I went in to check it out. When I walked in, I went to the basement and found more animal skulls and ritualistic floor markings. And then I went up to the rooms to find much, much more, he tweeted, sharing the photos and videos from inside the property. There was also a bridge from the woods behind the house to the back patio. The photos in this thread depict thrift. Oh, this is from the Church of Satan. The Church of Satan is now weighed in. The photos in this thread depict thrift store curiosities and hot top kitsch. I don't know what that word is. Not evidence of satanic ritual. Sounds like you have an overactive imagination and can't tell the difference between supernatural horror movies and reality. Needless to say, we left because this is weird, but this is what the guy says. We left because we are black, okay? And not dealing with something that was, 1, advertised completely different, 2, looks like a scene from Hereditary, which I think was a movie, 3, made the entire family feel unsafe, he said, capping off his thread. I agree with all those things. I don't think I would stay in this house. I might investigate this house, but I wouldn't pay to stay in it. But the host of the house has since told Vice, I guess that's who's investigating, that Joseph overreacted. The items are not satanic. They're kitsch, which, if you don't know what that word is, probably you don't know what it is because I'm saying it wrong, but it's just kind of cheap, weird art. None of it is a cult. You can get this stuff at any bodega, he said. Joseph was also told the Church of Satan that he had jumped to conclusions. The photos in this thread depict thrift store curiosities and hot topic whatevers, not evidence of satanic ritual. Sounds like you have an overactive imagination. This is a very repetitive article, by the way, and can't tell the difference between supernatural horror movies and reality, the church tweeted. It's unclear if the Airbnb gave him his money back. Yeah, it's all satanic. Okay, whether these are not things that anyone would own unless they were into this. And if you have markings on your floor, yeah, that's not good. So welcome to upstate New York. That's where that's going on. But that led me to my next part, which is talking about the Church of Satan. There are 17 chapters in the United States, and one of them is in Albany, New York. That's right. We can't get a Southwest flight out of the Albany airport, but apparently we can conjure Satan at any moment. Now, if we could get Satan to fly a plane, that's a whole different story. Okay, hey everybody. So I know that's a weird edit, and I'm just going to apologize for this episode because I started that whole thing about the Satanic Church and everything, and then I got COVID, and then I got back. I was just looking at my notes, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what I was looking at in my notes, but hopefully I will return to this thing about the Satanic Church in a future upcoming episode. Okay. So just give me a little grace here in September that, I'm trying to put everything back together. And I think, I had a wonderful healing with Jessica Gillis, who is my guest this September. If you're on the tarot feed, September 15th, her episode comes out and she talks about it. And Oscar had told me, he said I was coming online. That's what happened when I got my COVID. So short, a synopsis, a little more than what I put out at the beginning of the month. So I got COVID, and it was 2 days, and I actually had a surgery before that, a really minor surgery, and I think I wasn't totally healed from that, and then I got COVID, and it all hit me at once. That's why I think I got so sick, because I never get sick, and also, as of now, I think it's 5 days, and I'm pretty much out of it. I went and got some vitamin C infusions. I did everything I could. I got a stack of supplements that I'm taking, which, by the way, folks, NAC, you want to take that. You want to take quercetin. You're going to take all the vitamin C and zinc that you can stand. And that's a great start to knock it out. So what happened was, at one point I called Jessica and I was like, what's wrong with me? And, she and Oscar had said, he said it like your phone is like it's updating. It's at 98%. And it was really almost like clockwork. In fact, but he did give me a warning, and I have been getting up and doing too much too fast. But so it was sort of like, I was talking to her today, and it was kind of like, I think Oscar said your comedy app is not online, or maybe I said that. I don't know, but I'm going with that right now. So, comedy app not quite online, and focus on this particular episode not quite online. So I apologize. We're all over the place a little bit, but so I will get back to the Satanic Church stuff and all the stuff I've been doing research on. And I did a great thing. I'm going to have to go back and listen to my own episodes because I've been in the John D book, the economic, I can't say it, economic magic. It's, I know you all know what I'm talking about. And it's okay. Well, hopefully I've covered it already. If not, that's coming up too. I have to go back and reorganize and look. I can't believe how literally COVID was like a reset of the brain, and so much left with it. So, but what the mishmash today? This is the What's Up with Utica episode, or the Upstate New York episode, and it's a little straying off. But thank you to Sally. Listener Sally sent me a bunch of stuff from upstate New York. And the story that I love the most, well, it's kind of awful, but it's not exactly upstate New York, but it's very weird because it ends up in my hometown. It's called The Misappearance of Stephen Kubacki. And this story, I'm going to hack it up a little bit, but I don't want to read. You can read your own stuff, right? I just got to relay it to you. He was a student at Hope College in southeastern shore of Lake Michigan, and he vanished in February of 1978. And he was going on, it was cold and snowy, as Michigan is at that time. He went cross-country skiing alone. Okay, that's all right. And they suddenly found he was gone. Then they suddenly someone found a set of skis and a backpack and some footprints leading to the edge of the lake. And they didn't know where he went. There was some sort of they figured he fell into the lake or got, what is that, cold, when you get thermal cold, and they thought he went in. So everyone thought he died in the lake. They sent snowmobiles looking for him. They went all over they couldn't find him anywhere. So, and he was 23 at the time. He was studying German or history or whatever out there. So they keep mentioning that he was a big Dungeons and Dragons guy. So there you go, 1978. So he was a big outdoorsman. So this wasn't like a guy that just tried it once. He used to go mountain climbing in Europe, all kinds of stuff. So then on May 5th, 1979, well over a year after he went missing, he woke up in a grassy knoll in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which is my hometown. He woke up in my hometown. This is the only way we can get tourists to our Pittsfield, Massachusetts, because it's so boring, is we have to literally terrify skiers into some sort of transport a year later, and that's how we get them to Pittsfield, Massachusetts. He was 700 miles due east of where he had vanished, and if you drew a straight line, it would be there. So he gets there Sunday night. He has no memory of the previous 14 months. He wakes up and he doesn't know where he is. He has $40 in his pocket and a couple other things. He goes out and buys a newspaper, and then he saw the date, and then he called his aunt, who was in Great Barrington, which is about 20 miles out of Pittsfield, and reunites him with the rest of the family. Okay, so what he has when he wakes up or comes to or whatever happened is, first of all, he's wearing clothes he doesn't recognize as his own. He has a backpack filled with maps and hitchhiking signs suggesting he had traveled Sacramento, San Francisco, Reno, Chicago, Utah. He has $40. He has new glasses. He has sneakers and a T-shirt from a marathon in Wisconsin. He said he felt like he had done a lot of running. He said the last thing he remembers was being afraid in the cold and feeling that he was lost in the frozen darkness. So there you go. That's a pretty good story right there. So he doesn't talk about it now, or he won't talk about it now. It's kind of a low-key thing. They said there isn't even a Wikipedia page about it. And although it isn't an upstate New York thing, it has to do with something called the Lake Michigan Triangle. And I didn't know this. It's like a little Bermuda Triangle, much smaller, over Lake Michigan, that has several unexplained disasters, shipwrecks, vanishings, dating back centuries. There are stories of ghost ships, ghost planes, heavily corroborated UFO sightings, and one particular spine-chilling tale, I'm going to read you this one, about a competitive sailing crew that passed through what sounds like a vortex during a practice run on a calm early summer evening. After a sudden dramatic fall of fog and wind filling the mainsails from two opposing directions, 3 wooden ships took on a life of their own and performed a synchronized 360-degree turn with no one stealing. There's more to that story, and it happened just a few months after Kubacki vanished. So in 1979, he told reporters he was going to try and restate trace his steps, but he doesn't talk about it. His ex-wife doesn't talk about it. And now he works as a therapist, I believe, in the Pacific Northwest. So way the hell away from that. So I had to put, Sally, thank you so much for that story. So not quite what's up with Utica. So we took a little turn there as I try to regather my thoughts, but a pretty good story. Okay, everyone. So it's now the third part of this podcast instead of taping the whole thing. And I do apologize. It is a mishmash. It is just going to be a mishmash. And then I promise you in October, I'm getting ready to go out and interview somebody you heard from some of the ghost stories earlier. So I hope that's coming up for October. And October podcast, I may put a clip of it out so that more people will join the Patreon. But anyways, it's now, I'm still in bed. Hold on. So I have two things for you today. Like again, on this Mishmash podcast, I don't even know what I talked about. I know I had the good story about the Airbnb that was a satanic, what the hell, right? Upstate New York, what are you doing? And now, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I found with the mafia stuff. And then I literally did a download. And I always feel weird doing that. Like, who am I communicating with? Angels, blah, 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 what? But I think it really, well, let's do this first. This is something I want to read. I am going to do a whole podcast on Utica Mob, because it is part of what I keep talking about here. And it's a much bigger part than I thought. I told you about how I felt in this place where the lady from Sicily owns it. And when I first started looking into Utica Mob, upstate New York Mob, what is that about? I found nothing. And then one day I went on and I found everything. And I am going to read through a short list of what went on in the time frame in Utica. Okay, so this is Utica, New York, where I'm telling you all the weird murders and stuff happen, and we're going to do a true crime one. So this is literally a list of how people died in Utica having to do with the mob. All right. February 28, 1970, mob associate William Connolly blown up by a grenade. That's in my neighborhood. Attached to his car after leaving Mr. Joe's Restaurant Tavern in South Utica. July 4th, 1971, mob associate David something I can't say, shot to death. His body was dumped near Hidden Lake outside of Rome. October 3rd, 1976, rogue mob figure Albert Crazy Marone was killed in a hail of bullets walking towards his apartment in East Utica after having dinner at Alfredo's restaurant. December 20th, 1976, Syracuse produce dealer and mob associate Alan something, Scosanian, they're all Italian names I can't say, killed and shot to death left on the side of the road. December 3rd, 1979, mob wife Dawn Grillo, we're getting a little feminist here, strangled and bludgeoned to death for skimming money from a Brett Mafia crew. February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1980, Utica Tavern owner and mob associate Richard Clare's bar is bombed in an attempt on his life, but Clare was swooped away into a police car. January 4th, 1983, young criminal attorney Joe DeQuinio is shot to death inside his office, either in a case of a mistaken identity, or known for a mob mouthpiece. January 15th, 1983, mob associate Hector Ambrosia shot in the back of the head in a Ramada Inn hotel room in New Hartford. I have stayed in that Ramada. It's actually not bad for a Ramada if you can excuse getting shot in the head. Pretty good place. January 17th, 1983, topless dancer Carla Feliciano is stabbed to death inside her home. I don't know what she had to do with the mob, but what the hell? Let's throw her in. September 16th, 1983, mob soldier Angelo Grillo is gunned down while drinking at a bar in the Regency Lounge in Utica's Hardscrap Cornhill neighborhood. I think I've been to that lounge also. That's a tough crowd, but will gun you down if you're not funny. October 23, 1983, mobster Tommy Breddy imprisoned crew boss Dominique Brett's brother, is severely injured in a porch bomb attack at his Utica home after he had gotten into a beef with another member. February 11th, 1989. Longtime local bookie George Butch, that's the middle name, or the nickname, Sanduki, is killed inside his apartment for refusing to pay the mob tribute money in order to run his sports and gambling operation in the area. So there you go. Utica, New York in the 70s and 80s. We got grenades, we got bombs, we got shootings. Welcome to Utica, ladies and gentlemen. So that is just adding, that's crazy. Okay, I lived in LA. I did not see, for years, no grenades. So that is part of the Utica history, and I thought that would be interesting just to read that and throw that in, and hopefully I'll find out more about this. But today, taking another wild left turn on this episode, I wanted to read you something that I believe I just channeled. I'm always skeptical, but this is what it is, and whatever is said here certainly can't hurt. So, how I see things when I channel is I see them visually. I did not know that everybody doesn't see things visually. Some people hear that's clairaudient. Sometimes I have that. But I literally sat down today to do my morning papers, which is like my automatic writing, which is everyone should be doing that. If you don't have to be up and at work, I can't say enough good things about it. So I'm going on the road in a week. This will be out probably in that time. And I'm not actually okay yet. So I'm doing all I can. I'm better. I'm going out and doing my road work and just praying that I hold it together or whatever, or that there's some miraculous thing. I haven't worked out in over a month. I've never in my entire life haven't worked out in a month. And I'm doing walking a little bit, but this thing got me. And I'm going on my road trip, and I'm hoping for the best, but I'm letting go of any expectations. And I figure, especially when I get to Vegas, if for some reason I can't do it, they'll have somebody that can fill in and I'll fly home or whatever. But should be okay. I've been doing shows and feeling exhausted and not myself. So anyone that has COVID or has had COVID and knows this period after this exhaustion of whatever it's taken out of you, there's two things going on. There is the dark spirit I've been talking about since the beginning, which is put there by design. And that's what this download is about that I'm going to read to you. And then there is what it has taken out of your body. Now, I'm not going to lie. There was a psychic upgrade and my readings have gotten really, what people need has changed drastically, and I just start reading and there's tears and whatever. I think it's on the right track, whatever it is. So as I started, I just said, do a channel and finish your episode with that. And I got an image when I started to talk about the darkness of COVID, which we can put this on the vaccine or the illness, whatever. If you were injured from the vaccine, this is going to apply to you. If you just had COVID and you're like, what the hell? This is also going to apply to you. And I felt like I saw many angels come in and start moving, like it's time for us to talk. So that's what I saw. I suddenly saw a large amount of activity, and I'm just going to read this to you. So take it for what it is. A crazy person in bed reading what she wrote. What is this darkness that I have felt? And then everything started moving. This is a component / spirit that is to bring on apathy and depression. It is no accident that they are talking about getting the serotonin adjusters wrong. So I don't know if you saw that, but now they're saying that antidepressants, they got it all wrong. That new information is not 100% true. For those that these instruments help, don't change yet. So in other words, they were saying if you're someone that needs antidepressants to survive, don't take this information as 100% true. The darkness of COVID in you that's me, is centering on, this is me, not all of you, this is where it hit me, is centering on non-forgiveness of yourself and the world. It is latching onto that and is manifesting in your legs because you are trying to move forward in the wrong direction. Okay? A friend that you helped reminded you of dragon's blood. Somebody that had this going on, I got a download that they should start cleansing themselves with dragon's blood incense, which you all know that's my biggie when something goes wrong, when something really is infested in a house or something. You start with frankincense, you go to dragon's blood. Use your sage and dragon's blood with the intention of letting go of all future plans, not future work, future plans. Keep working for what you want. The entire world is heartbroken and isn't aware, which is why they can't move. So I'm going to add in my impression right now, which is, yes, we have to break to come together, but the United States is breaking right now. If you haven't seen, Jackson, Mississippi has no water. They're not talking about this. Oklahoma City, I think it was, has brown water. Okay. This is the infrastructure that is falling apart, and it's falling apart for two reasons. So this is what I mean. The people have been put to sleep and don't think they are not getting ready to wake up. We are still here pushing and yelling and would say, we've got your back. They know I like that statement. They're saying, don't forget, we angels have your back. Keep talking, keep saying what needs to be said. We are helping knock out the water systems, and we are helping to knock out these frail infrastructures that they are going to use against you. You get to look at it now so that you can fix it. We are breaking it because you weren't fixing it. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. Everyone's purpose and job is now apparent, but they want it to be bigger. When you call me, in other words, when you call me and ask me what your purpose is, your purpose right now is just to be talking. It is a war of good and evil is a way of living and not a being. It sits in some as a being, but that is not your business to overthrow, but your business is to outsmart and come together. Water, water, water. Prepare in all ways. This is not going to be an escape for any of you. I'm going to throw an ad in there for something. I have a Berkey water system. If you can afford a Berkey water system, I do not care where you live, get it. It is a doomsday prepper type thing where they're talking about contaminated water. A Berkey can clear chlorine and pool water in its filters and take out everything and make it drinkable. That's why the doomsday preppers have known about it for years. I have one. It is my prize possession. It's a lot. For about $300, you can get one and get the filters, and I have backup filters. This will save you money on all the water and all the water bottles you're buying. I know that sounds like a lot of money. Figure out what you're spending on water for a year. Brita is doing nothing. Those are doing nothing. This could be for hurricanes, this could be for earthquakes, this could be for what is happening in Mississippi, or Oklahoma. It's the best investment. If you can afford it, get it. And I would say get it now, because at a certain point, I couldn't get filters because of Corona. So I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe you even know a better water system, post it there, something. But it is, if anything happens, my house burns down, you will see me run out with my Berkey. Water, prepare in all ways. Are you going to try? They are going to try to take it from you. This is very interesting. They are going to privatize water. They're going to try. Okay? This is a warning. Prepare to help yourself and others. Make community now, not later. I think that message has been coming through in almost everything I do. Make community now, not later. Walk with the faith that you know we are here. Know we are here. This blanket of desperation and depression dissipates with cooperation. These that have created it are being weakened every time someone wakes up. Okay, so that I'm going to stop there. I have my personal opinions politically, you probably know. But that's all you need to know. So talk to your Trump voting neighbor, talk to your Biden voting neighbor, talk to your neighbor that hates all of this. Talk, because the more we don't get along, the more they can move in on us. Okay? If we're bound, if we're all from Jackson, Mississippi, and we show up at the State House and say, who's fucking fixing this? And we're not leaving until you do, that's how we're going to beat this. So anyways, that was a very weird, choppy episode. I hope you enjoyed it. From bombs going off in Utica to satanic Airbnbs to a download that I hope was more encouraging than discouraging. I love you guys. Thank you. We'll see you back in the Patreon.
Paranormal Karen. She's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen.